Hiya, welcome back to the Tweed Deluxe Neil Young clone buildy thingy, and got quite a bit of news first, and that's number one, the Larry Cragg interview threw a couple of spanners in the work, but problems shall be overcome here. And number one, Mr. Cragg, who is, if you don't know him, is this guy, and he's Neil Young's guitar tech since the 1970s. And in an interview with, I think, Guitar Player, he gave away that he runs 6 L6s in the amp, not the supplied 6 V6s. And to do that, to run 6 L6s, besides the rebiasing you have to do in the amp, you probably need a different transformer and a different rectifier tube. And the other thing Mr. Cragg mentions, drops on us like a bombshell, is that he doesn't use this Alnico Jensen speaker P12R. Oh no, sirree. He uses vintage Jensen ceramic C12N speaker, and so we've got to accommodate for all of this. So we've got as reissue Mullard GZ34 rectifier tube, which we're going to run with using this Tubeampdoctor's new Grand Stack transformer, which you can use either a 5Y3 with and get at idle, get 350 volts DC, or you can use a GZ34 and get 390 volts DC on the B+, which we're going to do. And first I was bitching about this transformer because I didn't like it, and only really the aesthetics of it, because the Fender one has got a cap on the inside as well as the outside, a cap like this with 2 holes in, and out of one hole the primary windings come, and out of the other hole the secondary windings come, and this one hasn't. And the shielding on this one is this copper strip, I suppose. But now I'm quite pleased with it, because you can run 6L6s with it, which we've got here. We've got ourselves a pair of Tubeampdoctor's, a matched pair of Tubeampdoctor's 6L6s, which are going in, and we've got the vintage reissue C12N. So thanks to Mr. Cragg giving us this information. It's brilliant. So that was all of that. So we've got some new parts. Oh yeah, and I got some USA CTS pots to replace the supplied alpha pots. I've got nothing against alpha pots. There's probably no difference whatsoever, but I just don't like them. So I'm putting CTS pots in, and which will probably make no difference whatsoever. So that's that. I finished the Eyelet board, which I'll show you in a minute. A couple of minutes of me soldering it all up. and it was really good fun to do. Made one mistake, which I warn you for if you ever do it yourself on one of these boards, or on turret boards for that matter, or lugs, which I prefer, because I didn't like the eyelets, because I found it difficult to make good contact with the eyelet itself, because you don't want to end up by having your connections made through solder. You want your connections like point to point and already firm in the contact before you apply the solder, and I thought that was quite difficult to achieve with the eyelet board, and it's much easier with lugs like are on the British made amps. So that was that. Oh yeah, the mistake I made was that I'd borrowed off a mate of mine, Harry, I'd borrowed a fibre pen, which is just like a normal writing pen, but all these like fibre optic cables come out of it, and you can use it for like deoxidizing contact points that you're going to solder up. And I was going to do that, but through the excitement of getting started on it, I forgot. I just forgot. So after tacking a few of these resistors in and whatnot, I noticed that the eyelets were oxidized and it wasn't adhering as well as I would have liked it to, the solder that is. So I stopped and cleaned everything with the pen, and that made a hell of a difference. So you should do that. So clean the eyelet board first. And so, oh yeah, and the extra speaker, the speaker we're stuck with now, thanks to Mr. Cragg, is not going to go to waste, because the amp has got an output jack socket thingy-majig for an extra 8-ohm speaker. So we're going to have as another cabinet, the exact same cabinet as this one, but a speaker cabinet, not an amp cabinet, and it's a Tweed Deluxe speaker cabinet, Mojo, and I think this is a Mojo cabinet as well, and we're going to have this in there as an extra speaker, so we'll have 2 speakers. Be great. So check out me soldering up this board, and subscribe if you want, and it'd be nice if you like the videos, and see you next time.